The debate about the generation gap has been raging on since time immemorial and will probably continue to be so till the end of time. But this time, the debate is perhaps getting a little more interesting and extending to an altogether new area. We're just about to find out how Gen Z and Gen Alpha are reshaping the consumer landscape with their demand for authenticity, digital-first experiences, and value-driven brands. Ladies and gentlemen, I now introduce to you the panel on Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the next wave of consumer power. First up, let's welcome our moderator, Mr. Rishi Verma, serial entrepreneur and jeweler, leading Fatehchand Bansilal Jewelers, Neesh Perfumes, and other purpose-driven brands. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause for Mr. Rishi Verma. And we also have with us Mr. Arush Chopra, co-founder of Just Herbs, a thought leader in Ayurvedic skincare, a D2C brand, and digital commerce. Let's also welcome Mr. Taran Chhabra, founder of Neemans, 40 under 40 honorary and sustainability advocate transforming India's footwear industry. I'd also now like to invite on the dais Ms. Navneet Kaur Dhillion, actress, model, and Femina Miss India World 2013, representing India at Miss World 2013. And let's also welcome on the dais Mr. Vikram Jain, co-founder of Theatre, bringing expertise in entertainment, storytelling, and consumer engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to unfold an interesting conversation on Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's all up to the moderator now.
Good evening, guys. So we're running late, and I'll try not to wrap up very soon. But I have some amazing people in the panel today, and these two typical generations are out here in the market. And we will talk about how the entire market is shaping up and how the future looks like. But before I start on to the conversation of different generations, I want to ask Navneet about her journey. How did she end up in the industry? How was the journey for her? How did she start? And how difficult was it for you?
Hi Rishi, good evening everyone. Well, I think my journey started with when my parents saw Aishwarya Rai and Sushmita Sen winning Miss India and Miss Universe, Miss World respectively for the first time live on television. And it was for them that their daughter was 2 years old and they said, "Hamari beti bade hoke Miss India banegi." So I think that's where it all started. And I remember I was in 8th standard when I wrote an essay in school and I said, "What do you want to become?" was the question. And I said, "I will grow up and become Miss Universe." And I had the whole class laughing at me. But I think later on, I won Miss India. That's where it started from. And since then, the journey has been beautiful. I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I have been really, really grateful for supportive parents and, of course, everybody who's been a part of it.
Thank you, thank you. So Arush, we were talking yesterday and you've taken an exit from Just Herbs. What a beautiful brand you've built. For you, while you were building this brand, I'm sure you saw a lot of competition in there, starting from Ramdev Baba to the best in the industry for Essential, Kama. What made you think that you can win this game in the Ayurvedic segment? And how did you start? And what was the turning point for you in your career?
I think luckily for me, I didn't overthink it. Right, that was one. Everybody told me that there is so much competition. Why does the world need yet another natural beauty brand? And even today, a founder who's starting in the beauty space is told the same thing. And yet you keep hearing big bang brands being created, bought, sold, right? Essentially, beauty is not a winner-takes-all market. It's not like a Coke, Pepsi or an Ola, Uber. There's a reason why it's called personal care, right? Because it's personal, so you can create multiple brands which can mean multiple things to different sets of people. I can say it very intelligently now, but I think when I started, I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't labor the point, and I think when you're starting out, that also is a superpower, right? So you just jump right in and you start building.
Oh, amazing. And was it difficult for you, the process that you built the company from the stage or zero?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are difficulties in building everything. I mean, especially when you're building something where the odds of success are completely stacked against you. And I think every founder here would agree, right? I mean, it's difficult, which is why it's worth doing, and that's what you enjoy. So, yeah. So not just for me. I think anybody who started anything ever faces the same challenges.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You would agree as well.
We're still doing it. It's a journey altogether. Taran, you've built this brand. I mean, the entire India is walking on your shoes. I would say a lot of people I've seen traveling, celebrities, and I would say from multiple generations, people have been using your shoes all throughout. What inspired you to get into this particular industry?
I was in the US. I was working in the IT sector for about 11 years, right? I struggled with the kind of footwear that I used to buy, wear, and sport. And I used to hate footwear that's not flexible, that's not lightweight, that's not comfortable. So I said, I've been complaining enough. I've been buying footwear more than my wife. So why don't I do something about it? So it started with a curious project wherein I started speaking with a bunch of people. Then kind of figured out that it could be a massive problem to solve, especially in India, considering it has a dearth of great brands that have come up in the last decade or so. And as we were deep diving within the product manufacturing and the entire ideology of the business, we said, how about making a purpose-driven business? How about creating a product that gives back to the ecosystem, the environment, along with being exceptionally comfortable, right? So very proudly today we are the leading sustainable footwear brand and the only footwear brand that exists today at our scale, at our magnitude. We've recycled over 10 million plastic bottles. We've recycled kgs of tires into making flip-flops, used organic wool to organic cotton, and sold to 50 to 60 lakh customers in a very, very short period of time, right? And that predominantly is because the product is exceptionally comfortable, it's value for money, and it has a very, very strong purpose on why the consumers back us and what we stand for today, right? So.
I call myself a conscious entrepreneur, and I think consciousness is something that we should be empowering at all times. And by doing such activities, what you've done, basically taken the things back from the society and building something, rebuild something on top of that, is a brilliant thing in today's world. And the generation that we are currently living in is also appreciating it quite a lot. And that's one of the reasons people come and rebuy the product and talk about the product and make it look like something extraordinary which has never existed before. So, Vikram, what a cool brand you have here. I must say this is like the coolest brand I would say I have seen in the last 2 years, and especially from our own city. And you've started a lot of categories, but I want to know, like, what was the first category you started and how did you become so cool, man? This is outstanding.
Thank you for the kind words, Rishi, and good evening, everyone. So, when we started theatre, we had a lot of discussions amongst the 4 co-founders that we have about the Western fashion landscape in India. And while the overall space seemed overcrowded on the face of it, we felt that there were very few people, very few brands doing something truly meaningful. For us, we're a very design-heavy founding team. 2 of the 4 co-founders are from a design background. And we felt very strongly that there were many white spaces within the landscape, within the different subsectors of the industry. Being design first would give us a distinguished sort of opportunity to be able to capture those white spaces. So the first category that we got into was stockings for women, which, when you think about it, is pretty much a staple in the West. Any lady in France or Italy or Japan or Korea or Canada would pretty much own 4-5 pairs of stockings, just like she'd own 4-5 pairs of jeans or trousers or skirts, but almost non-existent as a industry or as a category in India. There are reasons for that. It's a fragile garment, tears fairly easily, not a lot of variety available, not quite in alignment with the Indian, traditional sort of aesthetic or value system, you could say. But we saw it as a white space and we saw it as an opportunity. And very soon, within 3-4 months after launching, we were doing more business than we thought, would have been possible even in the entire year. We were doing more than that in a month. So we felt that we've achieved good success there. We felt we hit it out of the park. And then consequently, we got into other categories as well.
Amazing, brilliant. So just to give you a little insight about Gen Z and Gen X and Gen Y and Alphas, and a lot of things are going on. It's another loop altogether. We are millennials, majority of us sitting in this room. But before us was Gen Y, Gen X, and then Gen Z came, and now the Alphas are going on. So people who were born after 24 are Alphas. So very few of them are here that exist in this world. But Gen Z basically was born in 2012 till the 2024. And before that, millennials were there. I think I got a little confused. So Alphas were born from 2014 till the 24. And before that, there were Gen Z, and then before that, there were millennials. Millennials from 1980 to the 1996. So technically, this entire age that has been going on, I have personally seen a lot of brands, talk about Nokia, talk about Canon, talk about other brands out there in the market. They stopped focusing on the consumer segment, on the next generations. Nokia, for that matter, I did a little bit of research while I was in college. I had a project about Nokia. The consumers were growing fast and they wanted to use technology on the screen. They wanted to type on the screen. They wanted to click pictures on the screen. And nobody was taking care of that. So the company out there, like whoever solves the biggest problem of the consumer from the competitor that is there, becomes the next big thing in the market, becomes the next big brand in the market. So are we here in this room talking about how should we be approaching the next generation, the next timeline? How should we process this entire change that is going to come in the market? Navneet, I'm sure, being an influencer and being there in the industry altogether, do you also, does your decision get a lot influenced by the fact that, hey, my next audience is going to be Gen Z or Alpha?
Yes, they are the current generation for sure. And taking from your example of Nokia, I would say how BlackBerry refused to switch their QWERTY keypads to the regular keypads, and that's the reason they were fading out of the market. And similarly, we have to keep up with the market. We have to stick to the current generation, and the taste changes very, very quickly. They believe more in sustainability. They believe in the story that you tell them. Where are you coming from? What are you doing? Is it environment friendly? Do you support social causes? That's what they're really driven by. And coming to how I like to create content, I like to be myself. Do I tell a story, a different story every time? I don't. Honestly, I just like to be myself, how I am. If I'm traveling, I show that wherever, even if I am in the mountains and I have Maggie, so pahadon wali Maggie ki bhi story I post. So I think they like authenticity. The less made up you are, the better they follow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Vikram, creating a brand out of this city, again, I would say it's a phenomenal job that you have done. Your particular designs are catering to Gen Z altogether. Talking about millennials, we are very simple people as such, but the next generation, they're more techie, they're more advanced, they're more design conscious. Are you doing this on purpose to target this audience, or for you is it like, hey, I love this and I love the design element, and I just want to go ahead with this?
So first of all, I must acknowledge my co-founders, Sarthak and Shruti. They lead the entire creative side of the business, and I think full credit to them for the entire visual storytelling and the product selection that we have. To answer your question, might sound slightly unexpected, but I think the answer is no. I think one of the brands that, for example, that we speak about very often in the office is it's a rum brand called Old Monk, right? I think what they've done is just exceptional. It cuts across demographics, it cuts across audiences, income classes. You could have truck drivers having that, you could have the rum being served at the most elite functions and nobody's judging each other. That's always been the inspiration behind theatre, and we know that the intention of the brand is to create something that we know that a college kid who's saving up to shop twice a year, who's very close to alpha, not quite alpha, but very close to alpha in that, you know, on the cusp of Gen Z and alpha, she'd be buying from us. We also know that women who are from very rich families who could be carrying LV bags would still be buying shoes from us. And we've seen that happen in the different customer cohorts that we have. So the intent has been to create something that would cut across demographics, cut across generations, and be entirely judged on the merit of its own sort of design philosophy.
Beautiful. Taran, what about you? I mean, are you planning to change some things in the company, or you want to keep it that way and not focus on the different generations?
No, I completely agree with Vikram, right? As I say that a founder's vision or his personality reflects in the kind of brand that he's building. So what we've built at Neemans largely comes from the experiences that I've had, right? And the relations that I've had with the product over the years. And for the kind of business that we are building, we have the least number of products today in the entire footwear ecosystem. And our whole focus is to create timeless, minimal, thoughtful fashion, right? So we'll create a product that will stay in trend for the next 4 or 5 years. And it will not stay out of it. We don't run after trends that might change very, very quickly. We go after the entire material process, how the product is made, very, very comfortable from a technical perspective and not alone from a style or a trend or a design perspective. So we're not in it for the short haul, right? We are looking for products that can sell 1 million pairs in a couple of years, right? And that comes after a confidence that people across different demographics would want to wear the product. For example, one of the shoes that we sell, right, it will be worn by me, my dad loves it, and even my nephew would love wearing the same product because how the product sports, how it feels, and the different color combinations that it has. So we'd rather not look at how the consumption is changing across Gen Z and Gen Alpha and Gen Y. I don't remember most of the definitions that you said and rather stay away from it and go back to what we do best, right? We understand our own consumer, we understand one pain point that we're trying to solve and just keep running behind that pain point like a horse and do nothing else. And I think we'll succeed. We're not in it for fast fashion, we're not in it to change products every now and then. The market is going to kill us, the inventory is going to kill us. So let's stay focused on what we do best, which is creating a great product which stays for multiple years, and we keep doing it year after year.
Beautiful. So I think, what Navneet also said, be who you are. That's what matters. While you were saying, I was thinking about Rolex, I was thinking about AP. I mean, these brands have been there for generations. They've not changed anything about it, about the kind of products they're making, because the product is world class. I think that's what matters. If you have a world class product, it is just the communication to people which is going to change and which will also change the game for you. Arush, yeah, you're the most evolved one out of all of us. And I would love to hear your thoughts on the same, because I'm in two boats right now. Hey, should we have a product which is for the millennials, which is for the Gen Z? I mean, a lot of people are doing that as well. A lot of new companies are opening up, which is only focusing on the new generations. But then there are other competitors as well, which have been there for multiple generations. So, yeah.
So you're asking me if thinking of your consumers as millennials, Gen Z, and then making products is the right approach or not? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think if I'm sure you're going to start something new very soon. So
yeah, I've been there, I've thought about it. I personally think that these are essentially marketing terms. They don't really signify any particular human qualities, in my opinion, which haven't changed in like hundreds of years. So we keep talking about, Gen Zs spend a lot of time on Instagram, hence their behaviors are so and so, their attention spans are short. so, we should have XYZ type of communication for them. I think that's a very myopic and a very half-baked sort of view on how to market to your consumer. I think young people have behaved a certain way for generations. Sure, there may be certain peculiarities with this age cohort we see today, but it's not that their DNAs have mutated and they've developed some new qualities and they've changed as human beings. That hasn't happened, right? They're still human with the same emotions, the same 4 emotions of greed, fear, etc. The same things apply to them. And I think when you tell a story to to a human being, I think certain basics remain the same. So I wouldn't read too much into this whole compartmentalization of consumers. So I think this is just one aspect to look at your consumer, but then there's several others as well, right? And especially in a country like India, there's so much more. I mean, we make the mistake of generalizing and putting people in a bracket when we say Gen Z, but there's so much more which is impacting somebody, the environment at home, the culture they're brought up in, the kind of school they go to, etc., etc. There's so much more. So it's not a whole understanding of the consumer when you get trapped into these definitions. And I can see why people get trapped is because there's a whole industry which benefits out of this, right? I mean, brands are sort of made to believe that if you don't cater to the Gen Z, then you're losing out on something and your communication needs to change and you're up for a packaging refresh because Gen Z purple color and that should come in your packaging. I think I'm against that. So it serves a purpose. It's just a marketing term, but to me, it doesn't really mean anything more than that.
Very interesting. Vikram, do you track what kind of consumers are coming on your website to buy the products? What is the age group and what is the audience type? Is it like a usual tracking mechanism that you have? So have you figured out which is the maximum, which generation is buying from you in the maximum number?
Yeah, so for us right now, the biggest cohort is millennials, followed closely by Gen Z. But millennials still form the largest chunk of our customers and the highest value customers. We're also acutely aware of the fact that Gen Z in another 5 to 10 years is going to become the biggest cohort, not just in terms of numbers, but also in terms of the disposable income and value available. So I think today to build a business, while I agree with a lot of what Arush said, but I think that there are trends that you can assess and benefit from, because the way that you would sell 15 years ago is obviously different from how you would sell now. So there are certain defining characteristics of the different cohorts, such as millennials and Gen Z, and I think you need to be able to have some nuance in terms of picking out what those trends are, just so that you can optimize for success. So we feel very strongly that Gen Z in the next 5 to 10 years is going to become a very, very large cohort, and you need to start capturing that cohort already. So yes.
Very interesting. Are there any things, Taran, that you look at while launching a new product or launching a new brand? I'm sure you've invested in many more brands after you built Neemans. So positioning, of course, is very important, and we all talk about positioning, that, hey, positioning is the first thing that a brand should have. That's the identity to the brand. But even after doing positioning, we have to target it to the right audience. So again, you take a broad spectrum of the audience as your target audience, or you're very specific with the audience. I'm sure there's a lot of young entrepreneurs here who are confused in who to target, like who's the right audience for me.
See, the way TAMs and target markets are extremely important to look at, but the way we started, and if I had to do it all over again, I'd still start niche, right? We started extremely niche, extremely focused on just 3 types of shoes that we launched. We launched a loafer, we launched a jogger, and we launched a sneaker. We said this will fit into 70% of the people that would want to invest in a shoe. And if these 3 products are great, these 3 products are the best that that particular consumer would rate us at, then we don't need anything more than that. And those 3 products today are just 150, right? For brands of our scale, it'll be 1,500 to 2,000. So my advice would be to start niche, to start focused on a very, very small target audience, right? As the proof in the pudding comes, as the PMF starts doing well, there are plenty of ways to scale, right? There is distribution, there's of course online marketing, there is retail, there's for the right product, the right channel strategy could take you to scale in a few years, but start low, make mistakes, figure out what the right product is, what the right demographic is, and then scale would be the right way to go.
Interesting. So most of these, if I talk about millennials, we were out there. We love to go out, we love to interact with people, we love to chill. Talking about Gen Alpha, or Gen Zs for that matter, they are always online. They are on computer, digitally out there. So Navneet, I've seen this trend. We are an Instagram age. Our parents, which was a generation before us, in the 60s, or baby boomers, I would say, they were not too much into technology. Now they've started using Facebook. For our generation, which are millennials, we are a lot on Instagram, and of course a little bit on Facebook. The next generations that are coming in, do you know about the platforms these people are using, and how should a brand and in an industry, how does one target to these people?
Well, you have to be in sync with the current generation and the generations, even the alphas now. Though the alphas are not the current market, but their parents are, they have strong opinions about everything. So right now, we have to cater to the alphas, but at the same time, also the millennials and I think Gen X before millennials, so that you can understand them better. As much as alphas connect with you, also their parents need to connect with you, because they are the ones who are going to spend. And about the new upcoming social media trends and social media apps, that slowly and steadily, I think with time, every social media app will fade away, because we need something new, and very, very soon. That is, our attention span to everything is very short. Like I would say, in terms of films, theaters, OTT had the shortest time span, about 4 years. Now it feels like it is fading away. Similarly, there will be a lot more social media apps and different formats, videos, stories, different kind of advertising, even in digital mediums of advertising. There will be many more, and we need to cater to all of them. The mediums we had earlier, newspapers, magazines, they did not really have a targeted audience. Right now, we can measure our targeted audience, and personally, I feel brands should. I think all these brands, from theatre to Neemans to Just Herbs, and of course Neesh Perfumes, you've all showed up on my Instagram sometime or the other. You've all, I think I know about all these brands only and only because of Instagram, because it keeps popping up. And that is important. That is what the market is right now. It is, everybody is on the phones.
But you've got to be omnipresent, keeping in mind that it's evolving so fast that if you miss one opportunity, you miss the entire audience pool.
No, you'll not miss it, because it's a time frame and you'll show up again. So you will be there. I think everybody will see you. If not now, then maybe a day later, but they'll see you.
Awesome. So my last question to Arush. It's not working.
Yeah,
so
I
we
guess
had this conversation.
That's another signal, but go on. I would request you to keep your responses really brief in the interest of time.
Just last question. So yesterday we had a quick chat, and you mentioned that for 5 years you were growing bits and pieces, but 6th year you just flew. And a lot of entrepreneurs are out here, we just get tired. We don't want to do this anymore. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, it's not happening. So I want you to give this one last piece of advice to everybody about patience, and how can they also reach that stage.
I think Taran has been doing it for a while. There's several people who've been in this platform, sitting in the audience, who've been doing it much longer than I have. But I think you just keep at it, and you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you'll give up. But if you're having fun, then you won't give up. So, but the idea is to find something that gives you joy, and then also makes you some money and builds you a business. So if you're able to achieve that, then this problem won't come that you want to give up. and you'll enjoy it.
So work for the joy, not for the money. Money is the byproduct.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, time is always the culprit, but the MC has to take the fall. My apologies for that. I wish we could have gone on, but in any case, we captured some great viewpoints about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the next wave of consumer power. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to request Mr. Anil Channa and Mr. Sumit Khurana to come up on the dais and felicitate the panel. Please give it up for Mr. Arush Chopra, co-founder, Just Herbs, a thought leader in Ayurvedic skincare, D2C brand growth and digital commerce. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Arush Chopra, co-founder, Just Herbs. And we have Mr. Taran Chhabra, founder, Neemans, 40 under 40 honorary and sustainability advocate, transforming India's footwear industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Taran Chhabra, founder, Neemans. And we have Ms. Navneet Kaur, actress, model, Femina Miss India World 2013, representing India at Miss World 2013. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vikram Jain, co-founder, theatre, bringing expertise in entertainment, storytelling and consumer engagement. And let's also with that acknowledge our moderator, Mr. Rishi Verma, serial entrepreneur, jeweler, leading Fateh Chand Bansilal Jewelers, Neesh Perfumes and other purpose-driven brands. Let's do a better job than that at applauding this wonderful panel. Thank you so much. 0 to 100 is quite a journey. 100 to million, quite another, and million to trillion is an altogether new story. And that's why we bring together serial entrepreneurs with our next panel, who will talk to us about India's journey to a $5 trillion economy, which will be in the times to come, powered by innovation, technology, and bold entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, now leading you on to the next conversation for this evening, which is Vision $5 trillion, India, the third largest economy. And I'd like to begin by welcoming our esteemed moderator, Mr. Hridesh Madan, serial entrepreneur, co-founder, Hit Bullseye, a leading SaaS company in digital education. Warm welcome to you, sir. Let's also welcome Mr. Madan Padaki, founder and CEO of OneBridge, an initiative bridging rural-urban commerce in India. And you'd also like to keep applauding for Bhavin Singh Bhagat, co-founder of IndiaBizForSale.com and IBGrid.com, providing investment banking and M&A solutions for Indian business. My apologies, the throat has given way completely, but I'll go on. Let's also welcome Mr. A.K. Mohanty, founder, Tattva Technologies, a leading IT and ITES company in Odisha. And Mr. D.N.V. Kumaraguru, Senior Director, Alumni Engagement and External Relations, ISB. All yours, sir.
Thank you, Niharika, and what a great excitement with the leaders like Madan and Bhavin and Mr. Mohanty and Guru. The context is very clear. We as a country today are the 5th largest economy in the world after US, China, Germany, Japan. And as in the recent budget also, government set a target that we should become a 5 trillion economy very soon. And this target cannot be achieved alone. Government has to do some work, which includes infrastructure development, policies, ease of doing business. But on the other side, we have entrepreneurs who play a large role in complementing the government's policy and framework, that how together we can reach this target. And in the last 10 years, we have a decent growth. We have grown almost 66%. And the next couple of years are formidable for India. And you know, there's a lot of uncertain word today. I don't know, after Mr. Trump, when you get up in the morning, what statement you will see in the newspaper, and how the markets will respond. They say almost a daily phenomena today. But keeping those things different, I will ask first Madan a question. You have been from the skilling industry, and you have been on the mission of creating so many, I think 100 million entrepreneurs. So I would like to ask an open-ended question to everyone, that what's your view that how India can achieve that 5 trillion economy as soon as possible?
Thank you. And if I were Trump, I will say, let us make California the 30th state of India. And craft, why not? Right? So maybe that is the fastest way to achieve a $5 trillion economy. But beyond that, see, my sense is that, well, GDP is a great measure, right? And whether it's 5 trillion, 7 trillion, whatever. And given where we are as a country, we will continue to grow. You know, whether it's going to be 8% growth, 6.5% growth, I don't think we are in a state where we will suddenly fall to a 2%, 3% growth. The fundamentals are very much there, the domestic consumption is driving it. So, for a $7 trillion economy, and I'll preface it quickly, the markers has to be